This is lesson 1.2a. In this lesson, we're going to continue solving equations, but now we're going to move on to solving multi-step equations. Excuse me. As we're solving multi-step equations, there's a general list of steps as you go through them. And if you get to that step and that doesn't appear in the equation that you're solving, then you skip to the next one. So let's take a look at example 1. Yeah, we'll move it down a little bit. All right, so in example 1, we have the equation 2.5x minus 13 equals 2. So I draw my line to show my two sides, and then I start to look at my steps. So the first one says distribute all possible parentheses. This equation doesn't have any parentheses. So then I'm going to move on to the next step, combine like terms. Well, I currently, on the left side, don't have any terms that are the same style. So for example, 2.5 has an x, 13 does not, so they're not like terms. And on the right side, we only have 2, so there's not another term over there to combine it with. So I'm going to move on to step 3, and that says undo addition or subtraction on the variable side. So because I have minus 13, I'm going to add 13 to both sides. So negative 13 plus 13 makes 0. I'm left with 2.5x, so I'm going to bring that down. I haven't used it yet. 2 plus 13 is 15. So I'm done with step 3. Step 4 says undo multiplication or division on the variable side. Well, on the variable side, I have 2.5 times x. So in order to undo that, I'm going to divide both sides by 2.5. 2.5 divided by 2.5 is 1. So those cancel. 1x. Sorry about that. 15 divided by 2.5 is 6. So for this equation, we discovered that x equals 6. So we're going to move on to example 2. In example 2, we have negative 12 equals 9x minus 6x plus 15. So we make our two sides. And then we start at the top of our list of steps again. Distribute all possible parentheses. So again, no parentheses in this question. So I move on to step 2. Combine like terms. So I'm looking at each side individually. On the left side, all I have is negative 12. And then on the right side, I have 9x minus 6x plus 15. So when I'm looking at terms, I'm looking for numbers with variables that have the same power. So for example, x to the first power, x to the first power. So these two are like terms. This one does not have an x, so it's not a like term. It's going to be all by itself. So what I like to do is put a symbol around those like terms. So then I know, okay, these ones go together. Sometimes they're not side by side directly, and we'll look at an example like that in a little bit. So I'm going to bring down this negative 12. I haven't used it. 9x minus 6x is 3x. And I'm going to bring down this plus 15 because, again, I haven't used it yet. So now, step 3, undo addition or subtraction on the variable side. Since I have plus 15 on my variable side, I am going to subtract 15 from both sides. So 15 minus 15 makes 0. We have 3x left over here. Negative 12 minus 15. Remember, since their signs are the same, we think of it like combining the two things. I borrowed $12. I borrowed 15 more. So I owe my friend, owe means it's negative, I owe my friend $27. And then the last step, undo multiplication or division on the variable side. I have 3 times x, so I'm going to divide by 3. So on the left side here, I have negative 9 equals 3x divided by 3 is just plain old x. So x equals negative 9. And then for example 3. For example 3, I have 2 times the quantity 1 minus x plus 3 equals negative 8. So draw my line. Step 1 says distribute all possible parentheses. Yay, we've got parentheses this time. So remember, 2 or any number glued to the outside of the parentheses means you're multiplying. And we're multiplying that 2 by everything inside the parentheses. So we're going to have 2 times 1 minus, this minus comes from here, minus 2 times x. And then we haven't used that plus 3, so we're just going to rewrite it for now. And we didn't use that plus 8 yet, so again, we're going to rewrite it. All right, so we should simplify this a little bit. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times x is 2x. And then again, we haven't used the 3, and we haven't used this negative 8. So we're just basically bringing down these things that we haven't used yet. Okay, so step 2 says combine like terms. So again, one side at a time. Let's do the right side first since there's only one number. No like terms over there. Looking at the left side, I've got 2 minus 2x plus 3. So I don't have any terms on this side besides the 2x that have an x, but I do have a plain old 2 and a plain old 3. So what I want to encourage you to do when you are circling your like terms, include the sign right in front of it, to the left of it. Because when I do that and I go to combine them, I know that this becomes 2 plus 3, whereas this 2x would have been minus 2x. So it helps me to know that I'm using the proper signs. So 2 plus 3 gives us 5 minus 2x equals negative 8. So now we're on to step 3. Undo addition or subtraction on the variable side. On the variable side, I'm dealing with a positive 5. So I am going to subtract 5 from both sides. So 5 minus 5 gives us 0. We're going to bring down this minus 2x. Don't forget the sign in front of it. It's really important. And then, again, with our two negative signs here, negative 8 plus negative 5 is negative 13. And then my last step, undo multiplication or division on the variable side. So I have negative 2 times x. So I'm going to divide by negative 2. See how this comes into play right here. Making sure we're dividing by that negative means that my answer is going to end up being a positive because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So negative 2 divided by negative 2 cancels. We make 1x. And then negative 13 divided by negative 2 is positive 6.5. You could write it as a mixed number. You could write it as an improper fraction. Whatever the question is asking for is the way that you should write it. And sometimes you have multiple options for how to keep it. This is lesson 1.2b. In this lesson, we are going to be continuing to talk about multi-step equations, but we're going to be writing the equations before we attempt to solve them. So if we're looking at our sheet here, in example 1, it says use the table to find the number of miles you need to bike on Friday so that the mean number of miles biked per day is 5. So a couple of things that we're noticing here. We have what is labeled on here as the mean. And remember that the mean, when we're talking about math, is referring to the average. So when we have the average, we have to add all of the numbers together and divide by the amount of numbers that we have. We have some signal words telling us that the mean number of miles biked per day is, which tells us equals, and 5 is also important. And then we have to remember, so we're looking for how many are we going to need on Friday. So that phrase right there, find the number of miles you need to bike on Friday, this is going to be representing our variable this time. So it's quite a big phrase, but it is representing what we don't know and what we're trying to find. So looking at the table, Monday, 3.5 miles, Tuesday, 5.5, Wednesday was 0, and Thursday was 5 miles. So then if we're talking about Friday, Friday is our X miles. Okay, so when we go to put this information into an equation, remember we talked about the average, so it is all of the days added and divided by the amount of days. So we have 3.5 plus 5.5 plus 0 plus 5 plus, we're looking for Friday, so we have to include our X. And then it's all divided by the amount of numbers that we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, so it's divided by 5. And we need to do this so that our total is, or our mean is, equal to 5. So we kind of sorted through all the information that we were given. So for following our steps, the first thing that we're going to do is kind of simplify this information, combine those terms that are alike. Excuse me. So we have 3.5 plus 5.5 plus 5 is going to give us 14 plus the X that we haven't used. It's still over 5. That part hasn't changed. And our total over here on the right is still 5. So now, when I'm looking at this as a fraction, we're pretending that this information here is kind of in parentheses. So normally we would undo that addition or subtraction, but unfortunately right now, that addition is tied together because the whole thing has to be divided by 5. So we're actually going to undo our division first in this instance. So if it says divide by 5, I can undo that division by multiplying both sides by 5. Remember, when we're thinking about it as fractions, I can cross reduce here. 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 5 once. So I'm left with 14 plus x on the left side here. Excuse me. So then 5 times 5 is 25. And now our last step, we're going to subtract 14 from both sides. That's going to make 0. So we are left with x equals 11. And this would be miles. So on Friday, we need to bike 11 miles in order to have our average of 5 miles per day for that week. For example 2, one person buys a used car in Indiana and pays $10,195, including 7% sales tax, and $425 in additional fees. Another person buys a used car in Pennsylvania and pays $9,995, including 6% sales tax and $420 in additional fees. Compare the list prices of the used cars. And they clarify in here, the list price is the price of the car before sales tax and before those fees. So we're going to do this as two separate equations. We're going to focus first on our car that was purchased in Indiana. So for Indiana, we know that they paid a total of $10,195. This amount includes 7% sales tax, and it includes $425 in additional fees. So they're paying a total of $10,195. So that's our total. That's what it's equal to. This is including 7% sales tax. So whenever you buy something with tax, you have to pay 7% of the total amount. We currently don't know the total amount, so we're going to call this price P. So we're going to pay our total amount plus we're going to pay 7%. 7%, remember, we can write it as 0.07. And we're multiplying 0.07, that tax, times P, plus our $425 from those additional fees. So when we go to solve, excuse me, remember that lazy mathematicians choose to not write that 1 in front of their variable, but really it's 1p. So we're going to combine our like terms. 1p plus 0.07p is 1.07p. We haven't used that 425, so we're going to bring that down. And we haven't done anything with 10,195, so we're going to bring that down as well. So now we're going to undo our addition or subtraction. So we're going to subtract 425 from both sides. 425 minus 425, that makes 0. We still have 1.07p remaining on the left side here. 10,195 minus 425 leaves us with $9,770. We're going to divide both sides by 1.07 so we can get PL by itself. So P equals approximately, because we're going to round this to the nearest penny, it's approximately $9,130.84. So that's our list price for the car from Indiana. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do this one for the car that was in Pennsylvania. So looking at the car from Pennsylvania, $9,995, including a 6% sales tax. And this time they have $420 in additional fees. So we're going to take that information and we're going to write it into our equation. So we have $9,995 for our total. And then we have $420 for our fees. Plus, this time we have a 6% sales tax that's getting multiplied by our initial price. So that would be 0.06. And then we have to remember to include our initial cost. So you got to pay the cost, pay the 6% sales tax, so 6% times the cost, plus our fees of $420 equals $9,995. So again, we're going to start by combining like terms. 1p plus 0.06p is 1.06p. We didn't use our 420 yet, so we're going to bring that down. We haven't done anything with 9,995, so we're going to bring that down. We're going to subtract $420. So that's going to make 0. Bring down 1.06p. 9,995 minus 420 is 9,575. And our last step here, we're going to divide by 1.06. So we find that our list price for this vehicle is approximately $9,033.02. So if we're comparing these two amounts, we're basically saying, okay, $9,130.84 minus $9,033.02. What's the difference between them? Well, that leaves us with $97.82 more for the vehicle in Indiana compared to the vehicle in Pennsylvania. I'm going to use PA for Pennsylvania. So it's $97.82 more than they would have paid in Pennsylvania, or than this person did pay in Pennsylvania. Initially, their costs were quite close as well. All right, example 3. Example 3 says, you have 96 feet of fencing to enclose a rectangular pen for your dog. To provide sufficient running space for your dog to exercise, the pen should be 3 times as long as it is wide. Find the dimensions of the pen. So what I would suggest for starters, draw a quick picture. So it's a rectangle. They told us that in the information. We know that we need ours to be 3 times as long as it is wide. So if we don't know the width, we'll call it W. And we know that the length has to be 3 times what that is. And remember, because it's a rectangle, we are going to have 2 sides that measure the same. So those opposite sides are going to have the same measurement. So when I go to do this, I know that I have a total 96 feet of fencing. So if I'm trying to find out how the dimensions are going to look and I have 96 feet of fence, remember that we're going to be looking at the perimeter because you want to add up all the fence that goes around the outside. So I know that I have a total of 96, so it equals 96. And like I mentioned, if we're adding these together, so I have 3W plus W, but I have two sets of those, right? Because I have two over here as well. So I have two sets of 3W plus W. So here's one set, here's two sets. So we're going to solve. Remember, we're going to start by using our distributive property. So 2 times 3W and 2 times W. We haven't done anything with 96 yet, so we're going to bring that straight down. 2W times 3W is 6W. 2 times W is 2W. And again, we still haven't used 96. We're going to combine our like terms. So for this one, I have 6 W's and 2 W's to give me a total of 8 W's equals 96. I don't have any addition or subtraction to undo, so I can skip that step. I'm going to divide both sides by 8. So I discover that the width, or W, equals 12. So our width equals 12 feet. And since we know that the length is 3 times the width, I have 3 times that 12 feet. So 3 times 12 is going to give us 36. So we know that our length equals 36 feet.